This video is to explain quadratic functions and how to sketch graphs. Let's say we begin with the function fx equal to 3x squared minus 6x plus 1. Okay. Now the features that we have to understand about quadratic functions is that this is the a number. In other words, a number is 3, b number is negative 6, and c number is 1. Using the a, b, and c numbers, we can actually input them into the calculator and factorize. Okay. However, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do completing the squares, which you guys should be familiar with. So let's complete the squares. Now, since the a number is 3, this means the correct process is 3 bracket, okay, and then square minus. All right, so we have got x on the inside. Since this is a minus 6, there will be a minus as well. So the correct process now will be 6 divided by the a number, which is 3. That gives us 2, and then we have to divide by 2 again. So that will give us 1. After which, take the number 1, square it, we get 1. Multiply with the a number, which is 3, so it becomes 3 at the back. And then don't forget plus 1. Okay, then simplifying this, we get 3 bracket x minus 1 bracket square, negative 3 plus 1 gives negative 2. So this process is called completing the square. What we can know about completing the square is that since the a number is a positive 3, that means we have a minimum point. Okay, since I write the word point, it means it has to be a coordinate. So a coordinate has to be written in this form. Alright, now x minus 1, that tells us that x number is a positive 1. Right at the back here, we have got negative 2, which means y number is negative 2. However, if the question asks us for value, in that case, I can say that the minimum value is equal to negative 2. Please understand and know the difference between minimum point and minimum value. Okay. All right. Now, once we have done that, we can further sketch the curve. Now, again, we do this if the question asks us to sketch. All right. Now, what do we know about quadratics and how to sketch the curve? First and foremost, notice that what we have here is we have found the minimum point. So, since it is a minimum, I know the graph should be a U shape. Next, from the original function, this number is a plus 1. This is known as the c number or the y-intercept number. That means the graph will cut the y-axis at 1. Okay. Now, knowing these details will allow us to sketch the graph correctly. So let's go ahead and draw the x-axis and the y-axis first. So which means I have something like this. This is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. Okay, now when you sketch your graphs, don't forget you have to label the x-axis and you have to label the y-axis as well. Alright, and this is the origin, which is 0. Okay, now what I know so far is that the minimum point is 1, negative 2. So using simple understanding or logic, I know that the number 1 should be somewhere here and the number negative 2 on the y-axis should be somewhere here. Okay, it does not need to be drawn accurately because it is only a sketch. However, I also know that the graph is a U shape, which means when I sketch the graph should be a U shape. Okay, and notice the y-intercept or the c number is 1. So I must make sure that when I sketch the curve, my curve would look something like this. Okay, it's a U-shaped curve, goes all the way back up. Alright, okay, and this number here should be 1, that is the y-intercept. However, notice we can determine this number as well and this number. These two numbers here are known as the X-intercept. X-intercept. We can do this by using your calculator to factorize to find the values. However, for this situation here, these numbers, when you press your calculator, you will get decimals. So I need exact value. Exact value meaning I'll need to use the quadratic formula. All of you must be familiar with your quadratic formula, whereby x equals negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac square root over 2a. Okay. Earlier we have talked about the values of a, b and c. So once again, quick recap. You see here the a value is 3, the b value is negative 6, and the c value is 1. Taking these values, let's plug it into the quadratic formula. So again, equal to negative, b number is a negative 6, use the bracket, negative 6, plus minus, again b, negative 6, bracket square, minus 4, a number is 3, c number is 1, and then we square root this whole thing divided by 2a, which is 3. Okay, now let's simplify this part by part. So the front portion here will give us a positive, since negative is positive, plus minus. In the bracket, you can use your calculator to calculate that. You should get 24 square root divided by 2 times 3 at the bottom is 6. However, we have to simplify this. Now this can be done if we do this. Square root 24 is equivalent to 4 times 6. Since there's a square root for the 24, I must square root for 4 and 6 as well. 4, when we square root, will give us 2, but 6 will still remain as square root 6. We call this surd form. You guys will learn this much later. Okay, but for now, understand, you can do it this method, or you could press it in your calculator. This will work for the silver color calculator and the white color calculator. So this means I now have 6 plus minus 2 square root 6 divided by 6. Okay, now I will need to simplify. Notice the numbers 6 and 2, I can take out 2. Okay, this is called factorization. Bracket 6 take out 2 gives us 3, plus minus 2 goes out, there's no more 2, but there's a balance of square root 6. Close the bracket, and then we divide the whole thing by 6. I'm going to simplify now. Simplify the number 2 and 6. 2 divided 2 gives us 1, 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. So which means the correct answer here will then be 3 plus minus square root 6 divided by 3. What does this mean? This means I've got 2 x answers. One answer is 3 plus square root 6 divided by 3, and 3 minus, let's put it lower, minus square root 6 divided by 3. Okay, now if you're not sure which number is larger or which number is smaller, you can type this in your calculator and compare the decimals. So having these 2 numbers here, this means we can put them back into the graph. Okay, so the larger number, which is over here on the right side, obviously this number here is going to be 3 plus square root 6 divided by 3. Okay, of course in the exam you do not need to put an arrow here, but I just draw an arrow here so you know where the number goes. And the number over here will then be 3 minus square root 6 divided by 3. So this is what the graph looks like. However, if, say for instance, the function given is slightly different, what do I mean? Now, sometimes we will come across functions with the modulus form. Earlier, we solved the function for 3x squared minus 6x plus 1. Okay, if there are lines here and here, we call this the modulus, also known as absolute value. Absolute value. What this means is that when we sketch the graph, we go through the same process, but the final result, which is the graph, we will need to reflect along the x-axis. What this means is that the graph cannot be underneath the x-axis. So, can you see here, this portion of the graph, which is from here all the here, is sitting below the x-axis. So, if we are going to sketch a graph which contains this modulus symbol, that means modulus symbol, that means we will need to flip the graph. Okay, so how does that work? Well, it works like this. Let me just clear this portion out because they'll be obstructing the view. Right, so remember at this point here, this number was 3 minus square root 6 divided by 3. So if I flip the graph to make sure that the graph does not exist below the x-axis, that means now the graph here, again remember, this is 1, this is negative 2, which gives us the height. So when I flip it, it goes back to 2. So now the graph will look like this. Okay, we flip it. So if the bottom height is 2, or the distance here is 2, the top distance should also be 2. And once you have done that, it's time to remove whatever portion of the graph that is below the x-axis. So we remove that. Okay, so which means now the graph looks like this. This is the modulus graph, or this is the absolute value. This only happens when the function has the modulus symbol in it. Okay, now please try and do your questions, and then I will make another video to explain a graph or a function with a negative a value.